I'm here in my backyard to talk to you about reading strategies. There are different kinds of texts in the world, and you will encounter different kinds of texts in the world, and you can't read them all the right way. There is no one thing that's called reading. There are readings. Now, for this video, you are going to be answering some questions. So as we think about these different ways of reading, you're going to be answering some questions, so you are going to need a pen and paper. So go get that. I'll wait. You get it? Go get pen and paper. I'm waiting. Okay, did you get your pen and paper? Great. So let's start looking at some of the different kinds of reading we have and talking about the different strategies that you use. And in the course of the video, I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You're going to write down the answers to those questions, and then you're going to email that to me, okay? They don't have to be long answers. They could just be a sentence or 2 or whatever. So my first question is, what and how do you like to read? You read all day long. Even if you think you're not a good reader or you don't like reading, you're probably reading the newspaper, you're reading advertisements. Television is a kind of text. If you're watching TV, movies, you're probably watching YouTube videos. You're even reading other people. There's fiction reading, which is stories, poems. There's nonfiction, which is history. There's news. You're reading all day long. So right now, write a little bit, like a couple sentences. What and how do you like to read? Ready? Go. Welcome back. So that was question 1. Now we're going to look at our first type of text. So you remember this textbook reading? A textbook reading is full of what? Information, right? It's facts. When you're reading a textbook, you're just trying to pull those facts out and make sense of them. You need to know that what the key information is that you're supposed to get and keep track of that information in your notes. So sometimes looking at like the questions at the beginning or the end of a chapter can help you with that. This chapter didn't have that, but know that for your textbook reading. But when you're reading a textbook, you're looking for things like the headings. Here it says sexual orientation, that's the heading. You're looking for things like definition. You're looking for key words that might be bold. And you're looking for that information so that you can make sure that you have it when you need it to take a test or write an essay. And you're here to build your career, so that information is stuff that you are going to need in your job, even if it's something that doesn't seem directly related to your job, right? Like maybe you're in criminal justice and you're like, why do I have to read sociology? Understanding how people work is really a part of criminal justice. So question number 2 is, in what other situations in life, other than college, right? You think textbook reading is only college. What other situations in life do you need to be able to read a document and figure out what the important information is that you need to know? Okay? That's question number 2. When else in life do you need to be able to read a document and figure out what the important information is? Are you ready? Go. Welcome back. So a different type of reading is opinion. It says right here, this is opinion. Now, this is an article that's in the New York Times, but it is clearly marked opinion. You might think for just a second there about the difference between a news article and an opinion article. But when you're reading something that's opinion, what is the person trying to do? What is the writer trying to do? They're trying to convince you of something, right? They're trying to convince you that their opinion is right. So that person is going to be making a claim. In this case, Michael Ian Black is claiming that America's boys are broken and it's killing us. And his whole article here is trying to convince you of that point of view. So he's going to give you reasons why he's right and evidence that he's hoping will convince you. So when you're reading something that's opinion, you need to be alert to the fact that somebody is trying to make you think differently. Now, maybe that's good. Maybe that's going to open your mind in new and exciting ways. Or maybe you need to be careful because, who knows, maybe it's QAnon trying to convince you that there's a child sex trafficking ring in a pizza parlor in D.C., and you need to be careful of that too. So when you're reading something that's opinion, you're looking at what is the claim, what is the argument, and how well is it backed up? You're asking critical questions. And when you read this Michael Ian Black essay, I want you to come over here to the comments and take a look at the comments and see if you think that he was convincing other readers. Were other readers on board with him and agreeing with him, or were other readers critical of him? Okay, so your question number 2 is, why is it important today, especially today, I don't mean like, Monday, I mean like in today's world, why is it so important for us to be able to make sense of other people's opinions and figure out whether we agree, whether we disagree, and how good of an argument they're making? Are they making a convincing argument or not? Why is that so important today? That is your question number 3. Ready? Go. Back. Our next type of reading is a poem. So poems, obviously you're going to read them really differently than you're going to read something that's information-based or something that's opinion-based. A poet is not trying to convince you of a point of view or trying to share information. A poem is trying to make you feel something. It's trying to open your mind, probably, trying to connect with you, but trying to make you feel something. So when you're reading a poem, you're letting it wash over you. You're maybe reading it more intuitively, but you're also probably doing what is called making inferences, and that is looking beneath the surface to figure out what's going on. You'll do that with poetry, you'll do that with stories and fiction, and you will also do that with things like music videos. So here, this poet is talking about like an orange coat, sunlight, yellow shirt, pink shoes. It's very visual. Sometimes poems are very like tactile. You feel them, or they give you a lot of like emotional feeling. So when you're reading a poem, it's a very different kind of reading than if you're reading something factual. Now I want to think about two different types of videos here too, right? So a music video is probably more like a poem. So if you're thinking about Yo Perreo Sola, it's like a poem. He's trying to make you see the world in a different way with the way he's combining words, music, and imagery, right? So you might read this kind of video as being more like a poem where you're thinking about how does it make me feel, what does it make me think about, and how do I read beneath the surface? But other types of videos, right? This is the toxic masculinity video, might be more information-based. And here, this is somebody it's information and his opinion. He's trying to convince you of something. So here, you might need to watch the video a few times. You want to figure out what's his point of view, what's his perspective, what is he trying to convince me of, and is it a convincing argument that he's making? You probably need to watch it more than once. You might need to put the closed captioning on, right? It's like Ben-Hur, where you maybe need to watch it more than once. You maybe need to read the transcript to figure out what he's making is. So there's these different kinds of videos as well that you need to use different reading skills with. Okay, so here's question number 4, right? We're up to question number 4. Question number 4 is poetry. Yes? No? How do you feel about it? Poetry, fiction? Where are you with that? Or if you're going to say you don't like poetry, do you like music? Because isn't music really like a type of poetry? Okay, so that's question 4. Go. Okay, welcome back. Here's our last type of reading. This is the Pew Research Center infographic about survey data. So our last type of reading is data. And I don't know about you, but when I see data, I just glaze over. When I see numbers in a reading, I lose it. I don't even know what to do. So for me, this is a really difficult type of reading. When you're reading data, you need to look at what the facts are, what data are they presenting, and what does it mean. So this is a whole different kind of reading. You're still making inferences because they maybe don't tell you exactly what the data means. You have to figure that out. You have to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. And you have to pay attention to a lot of different details. So when you're reading for data, that's another kind of reading where you probably have to take notes. You maybe have to be very detail-oriented when you read, right? So here, Americans are much more likely to use powerful in a positive way to describe men. 67% of Americans said it was positive. Rather than women, 92% of Americans associated powerful with women in a positive way. That might take some thinking to figure out what's being said and what it means. So reading data is a different type of reading. Okay, so now your 5th question, question number 5, is when in life do you need to make sense of data? Why is it important to be able to make sense of data in order to be able to make good decisions? So there you go. You've got 5 questions. What and how do you like to read? If you're reading the strategies you use for reading a textbook, when else in life do you need to use those strategies? Question number 3 is why is it important for us today to be able to understand and think critically about opinions and arguments? Question number 4, poetry, music, yes, no, how do you feel? And question number 5 is why is it so important to be able to make sense of data and how do we use that in our lives to make decisions? I hope this was helpful to you and I'll see you in class.